Aren't there times when you want to talk about everything? Sometimes talking about anything is very therapeutic. And don't forget about talking about, well, nothing. Sometimes it's about just listening to what others have to say. Please join me for my podcast, Yada Yada Yada, a chat about everything, anything, and nothing. It's a great way of knowing about what's not coming next.
Hi, everybody. So I got some pretty upsetting news this week that my dog has myeloid leukemia and lymphoma. And let's add a little Lyme disease to that as well. So my family and I were absolutely devastated. He's 9 years old. He's a rescue. And we got him when he was 18 months old. So, we've had maybe 7.5 years with him, and he is the most incredible dog, even though everyone says they have the best dog, and I agree. But he is just the kindest soul, kind eyes, very expressive, and started showing signs, strangely, about 6 months ago, but he would not have been diagnosed with the cancer. And it wasn't really until last week that he started to deteriorate. We brought him in for tests, and Monday we had to make a decision and had to put him down. The whole day on Monday he just was in distress, couldn't breathe, and the doctor believes that he could have had a blood clot in his abdomen. So throughout the time that I and my husband and son were dealing with this, of course, my stress from that brought me to the pantry and to the refrigerator. And the first thing I did was reach for something sugary or something starchy. And that's why I decided to do this podcast, because I was curious about others and what they go to when it comes to stress as far as food. Some people just lose an appetite, and that actually happened to me the first few days after I saw what was happening to him, which then eventually turned into having these cravings. And my cravings are, sweets, sugary sweets like chocolate, ice cream, cookies. I love all that in general. But when I am stressing, it's just, I can't get enough of it. And sometimes I don't even realize that I've eaten it because it's just emotional eating. And I also love salty snacks. So it hasn't been a very good week as far as diet goes. So what do you do when you stress out? I mean, do you go for food? Do you go for healthier food? Do you go for the junk food? I'm otherwise a pretty healthy eater, and exercise and all that. But when it comes to bad news or stress, I just need something that's going to help it to subside, and that's certain foods. So, I mean, I remember reading studies from Harvard Health that discussed all of the different reasons why people, go for these stressed foods or these more unhealthy foods. And apparently, it starts off with the feeling of losing something or someone, and the hormones in your body start to change. Well, okay, duh. And eventually, different hormones start to set in, which is what brings you to eating certain foods that you really shouldn't eat, but just to get you through. And the hormone is cortisol, and the cortisol can just set your whole stress food need in motion. And there are so many different stressors and so many different triggers out there. So for me, this week it was, or last week it was my dog. What about you? What sets you off? I mean, is it stress at work? Is it your children? Is it health, COVID? Or could it really be something small and maybe insignificant that just can get under your skin? And how do you handle it? There was a time when I used to just find solace in exercising or at times just going for a walk just to clear my mind. But not this time. This time it was just give me the junk. And you know what? It didn't even help. It really didn't. I thought that it would, and it didn't. I still was sad. I still, I didn't regret having it because it was really good. I have a friend, after I had to put my dog down, who brought me bundt cakes, mini bundt cakes. And it was very kind and sweet and thoughtful of her. And I ate an entire mini bundt cake in one sitting. Now, that could have lasted a good 2 to 3 days, maybe, but I just dug in, and I was like a shark going in for the kill. Like when sharks' eyes, they just turn black. They have that lid that when they go in to bite something, their eyes turn black. And that's how I felt I was with this bundt cake. Like I just went in for the kill. I don't even think that I breathed. And I mean, it was a red velvet bundt cake with cream cheese frosting and chocolate chips. I mean, come on. She also got us pumpkin spice and chocolate, and I did not touch those. But all I could think about was that bundt cake after she brought it, and counting down the minutes before I could eat it. Stress can play a pivotal role, I think, in many people's lives and how we handle it. And whatever it takes to get through it is whatever it takes. I mean, sometimes you just have to indulge. And I've been so emotionally distraught this whole week, as many of you that have pets know. They become a part of your life. It's like having a child, like a canine child. And although I know that they're only with us temporarily, we tend to forget about that and enjoy having them in our lives. And when you get devastating news, it's like losing a limb. And every time I have to put a dog of mine down and prior to that get devastating news, it takes a piece of my heart. And I get stressed out and anxious, and aside from the food, I also find other avenues, like going out for a walk. I live in Florida, so it is still so ridiculously hot here at the end of September that it's hard to go for a walk, So I have to find other things to do as well, like exercise in my house or find some other kind of an outlet or go out and run some errands or whatever it is. And I'm a dog walker, so luckily I have that. It's still quite hot outside, but things to look forward to. But what is it that you do? Because I know that we all react differently. Sometimes people who don't react at all have those delayed reactions, and then all of a sudden there's just this burst of complete sadness. And I'm always in the moment. Whenever I get upset or stressed out, it's at that moment. I allow myself and give myself the opportunity to be emotional and grieve and feel all of the feelings um, that my brain is feeling, because I'm afraid that if I don't, I'm just going to explode. And I know that there's healthier foods. So let's talk about the healthier foods that we can go for. Not that I would when I'm stressed, but they're still just as good. I mean, okay. So peanuts, for example. Okay, you've got your salt, because I crave salty snacks. Or a trail mix where you have like healthy peanuts mixed in with maybe some dark chocolate. Now, I'm guilty of picking out the dark chocolate. I am, and I know that you are too, but it's a good combination. Have maybe some cranberries or raisins in there too, and so at least I won't feel as guilty. However, that's not always the case, but it's always good to have healthy snacks around. I mean, I know people who, when they get stressed out and they want sugar, many of them don't like the kinds of processed crap that I like when I get stressed out. So what do they go for? They'll go for fruit, like blueberries or cantaloupe or watermelon. I don't know how they can do that, but to me that's not even close to satisfying, but whatever. So, what other healthy snacks can we go for? I mean, there are baked chips that we can all eat, even though, I mean, again, doesn't have the same taste. But if you really are stressing and you need to go for some kind of junk, sometimes it's better to go for the healthier junk, like one step higher than what I'm eating. They have kale chips, they have baked potato chips. There's always something else, I guess, that you can grab. But what is it that you would like? I mean, maybe you can let me know and give me some ideas, because right now I'm still in that phase of feeling sad and wanting to grab something that's junky. Um, but in order for me to help my craving, like this morning, I have not eaten breakfast yet, but of course I'm going to make something healthy. The one thing that I love, which you guys have got to get, is the Trader Joe's everything but the bagel. Do not purchase any kind of imitation, because it is just not the same. There is so much flavor to this seasoning. I think it's got a little bit of garlic, a little bit of salt, some sesame, some something else in there. So, like this morning, I plan on making myself some like eggs, like poached eggs, on top of a bed of lettuce, because I feel guilty that I had the bundt cake last night, and some avocado. But to me, it's kind of boring and bland, so the only way to spice it up is to add this seasoning. And I am telling you, it makes a world of difference. Everything but the bagel. No, I am not doing a paid advertisement. This is just my own personal preference. Everything but the bagel. You can add it to everything. I made a shrimp dish the other day, and even though the shrimp is very flavorful, I added it to my shrimp dish, and it just gave it that extra oomph, gave it a little more edge. And you can add it to anything else that you want. There's a plethora of things you can add it to. So that's what's going to help my craving this morning. The fact that I have a little bit of salt, a little bit of flavoring. So what about the rest of the day? I mean, what am I going to do when I'm sad and I'm thinking about my dog and I'm home and he's not there? I mean, what am I going to do when I get stressed out? I have to think of other things that I can grab. Okay, so I've already thought about this. My go-to snacks today will more than likely be some hummus and vegetable sticks. Yuck. But the hummus does have that saltiness that I like, and it's healthy. I mean, what are we talking about? Chickpeas is in there, and what is that? the other ingredient? Hummus. Oh my God, I can't think of it. But, and then, carrot sticks and celery or maybe some peppers. It usually hits more at night for me, nighttime, like around 7, 8 o'clock. I get those cravings. Okay, so what can I do tonight, guys? I need help. I need to think of what I can do. All day I'm eating healthy, even if I'm stressed out, but at night I need to have something. So I did go to Whole Foods and I got myself some really healthy trail mix. Um, and I bought myself some almond butter and some fresh peanut butter, thinking that, I could indulge in that. But what other things are there that you would think of doing when you have such a sweet tooth and you love salt, but you really have to kind of do it in moderation? Because I don't know how much longer this stress eating or emotional eating is going to last. And I can't keep filling my body up with all this junk. Well, I mean, I could, but I'm not going to. I don't even have things like soda. Like last night, like as an appetizer, prior to my very healthy dinner, I had some chips and salsa. And the chips are organic and baked. However, they are lime, which means that they have salt on it. It was too salty for my husband, but for me, it was just perfect. So I had that and some salsa, and that really kind of helped, with the craving that I had. But in essence, what else can you do? Okay, I mean, I know if you exercise, you've got the endorphins, and endorphins make you happy. Okay, but guess what? When you exercise, do you feel the need to have carbs after? There's got to be some kind of other hormone besides this cortisol that does something to your body when you're trying to be healthy. Every time I try to be healthy, there's something lurking around the corner that's just like, okay, now you have to eat. So, like, the more I work out, the more hungry I am. The more hungry I am, the more cravings I get. And it's really hard to keep eating healthy. So, the best thing to do, or that I've done, is to find alternatives. Like, if I love, like, Taco Tuesday, what can I do to make it just as tasty but healthier? I look up tons of recipes online, and I can find more healthy alternatives. So there's this kind of pretty cool, it's not like a casserole, but it's almost like all the ingredients that you would have in like a taco, the beef and everything, but much more healthy, less sodium, and just as tasty. And you can make it like in a skillet, you can even bake it. And then you can have unsalted chips and you can eat it that way, or you can have a low fat wrap and you can put it in there. And so that is a great alternative. And there's other things that you can do that are alternatives to just eating junk and crap. And I have got to tell you, one thing that I invested in and that I'm so glad that I got is the Instant Pot, because it's not only a pressure cooker, but it's a slow cooker as well. What I love most about it is if I forget to take something out, which is pretty normal for me to make for dinner, let's say I have some chicken cutlets that are in the freezer, it cooks them frozen and within minutes because it's a pressure cooker. I have made so many amazing meals, and sometimes when I just want something different, again, I go online and I will look for a great recipe that it is like, let's say, low in salt, uh, low in carbs, but just healthy. I made this very low sodium healthy risotto in the Instant Pot with chicken. And it was like just a few ingredients, a bunch of seasonings, some chicken broth, rice, well, some kind of rice. I forget what kind of rice was it. And what else? What else? I can't remember. Uh, I have got, and I added in the end, I added in um, some frozen organic vegetables, like I think it was peas, carrots, and broccoli. And there wasn't a whole lot of prep. I mean, it was just like you throw kind of everything in. The Instant Pot did everything for me. Done. And I'll probably do that again tonight. So, I mean, there are alternatives to eating when you're stressed out. But whatever you do, indulge. Allow yourself to indulge and to grieve. Just don't do it all day, every day. Allow yourself maybe some things to look forward to. Now, I had that entire bundt cake and I shouldn't have, but I knew that I probably would have to restrain myself for the next couple of days from eating that kind of junk. But when you're grieving or when you're stressed out over something, I'm sorry, but there is nothing wrong with feeding your emotions if it's what gets you through, but in moderation. And I'm saying this as someone who really is addicted to emotional, stressful eating when it strikes. And it's not all the time. It's only when things get really bad and or I get bad news or something like my dad, who was a huge part of my family, and it will be devastating and hurtful for a long time. But I don't plan on stress eating every day. So, what is it that you can do to help yourself when you are going through stressful periods and emotional eating? What's your go-to stress food? What can you do to possibly make it a little healthier? I guess it's something to think about because we've all been dealing with some excess anxiety and stress since March and COVID and so many things that have gone on that I think, sometimes have to just reassess situations and maybe make better decisions, like I should have last night and the bundt cake. I know I keep thinking about that. So think about it. Let me know your thoughts, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Bye bye.